What's up, y'all, and happy Thanksgiving to all who celebrate. You're tuning in to 2nd and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast presented by Old City Sports Network, the best network for all your Philadelphia sports needs. This is your host, Michael Roscoe. The Eagles put on a show with Saquon making a historic performance, but this game did not come without a price. We'll talk about that and more, along with previewing this Sunday's matchup against the Baltimore Ravens, which is sure to be one of the top games of the season. So, without wasting any time, let's dive right into the show with a quick recap of last week's win. The Eagles went to SoFi to take on Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams in a Sunday night showdown. After a fumble recovery by the Birds, they're able to march into the red zone, but failed to get into the end zone, and the first points of the game would come with a Jake Elliott field goal with just over 5 minutes left in the first quarter. The Rams will get the ball back, passing their way down to the field with Puka Nacua and rushing with Kyren Williams, who would get into the end zone with under 2 minutes left in the first. Rams take an early lead 7-3. The Eagles would cut this lead to 1 with a field goal with just over 6 minutes left in the first half. After a Brandon Graham sack on Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford to bring a 3-and-out, the Birds get the ball back with about 4.5 minutes left in the first half. After a couple first down games by Barkley on the ground, it's a 1st and 10 within the red zone. Hurts steps back, fires, and hits A.J. Brown in the end zone, but it is marked an incomplete pass as the defender knocks the ball out before the end of the play. However, under further review, it showed A.J. Brown maintained possession and made about 3 steps within the catch in the end zone before the ball got knocked out, so the call is reversed and it is a touchdown. Birds end the half up 13-7. The Eagles would get the ball back to start the second half and didn't waste any time. The very first play of the half is a handoff to Barkley, who takes it up the middle, cuts right, and goes 70 yards to the house for a touchdown. The Eagles are up 20-7 just like that. Just under 11 minutes left after a bogus pass interference call on Isaiah Rodgers in coverage of Puka Nacua, the Rams offense was within the 10, and they would score a touchdown off a Stafford pass to wide receiver Demarcus Robinson, cutting the lead to just 6. The Eagles, however, are back in the red zone very quickly, under 6.5 minutes left in the third. A handoff to Kenneth Gainwell finds an open hole, sheds a defender, and gets into the end zone for his first touchdown of the season. Eagles are up by 2 scores again, just like that, taking a 27-14 lead. With just over a minute and a half left in the third quarter, Rams, unable to convert on a 3rd and down, settle for a field goal. However, the Rams kicker had that voodoo shit happening to him this week that our guy had in week 11 and misses the field goal. Eagles take over near midfield. The Birds get into the red zone again. However, on a 3rd and goal, Jalen Hurts somehow overthrows Johnny Wilson's tall ass, and the Eagles settle for a field goal. The score is now 30-14. With 6 minutes left, the Rams have the ball, and the Eagles defense, along with Rams offensive penalties, are killing them on this drive, setting up a 3rd and 19. Stafford is under pressure, and defensive tackle Milton Williams sacks the QB and forces a fumble, to which the Rams do recover, but have to punt the ball away. Under 3 minutes left, it's 3rd and 6 from the Eagles' own 26-yard line. Hurts hands off to Barkley, who finds an open hole and thanks to our incredible O-line, and is off to the races once again. Barkley showing off that explosive speed, outrunning everyone, taking it 74 yards to the house. His second 70-plus rushing touchdown of the game. Eagles are up 37-14. At this point, our starters have been pulled, and our second-string defense allows a garbage time touchdown to Cooper Kupp. Too little, too late. The Eagles get a dominant win with a final score 37-20. All right, let's dive into some Eagles news before we go into our discussion. Starting things off, defensive end Brandon Graham will unfortunately miss the remainder of the 2024 season after suffering a torn tricep against Los Angeles. At the beginning of the year, BG indicated that this would be his 15th and final year in the league, so it is very possible that we just witnessed number 55 play his final game as an Eagle. He had a hell of a performance with 2 total tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, and 3 quarterback hits. It sucks that his season and potentially his career has come to an abrupt end, but if that is the case, then he's going out of the league with a bang. All I can say at this point is rest up, BG, and thank you for everything you've done for us so far. Now, we know Brandon Graham is irreplaceable, but we do have some depth to fill in that defensive end edge position, as Josh Sweat and Nolan Smith are currently our lone starters. So to add depth to the position, the Eagles have picked up defensive end KJ Henry, signing him to the practice squad. Henry was waived from Dallas on Saturday, but was drafted last year in the 5th round to the Washington Commanders. Additionally, the Eagles have claimed defensive end Charles Harris off waivers from the Carolina Panthers. Harris was waived Monday from Carolina after logging over 20 tackles and 3 sacks in 9 games this season. Harris was a former first-round pick getting drafted back in the 2017 NFL Draft. We need depth at this position badly, considering Graham's season-ending injury and Bryce Huff being on IR, so hopefully these guys are able to fill some pretty important roles on this football team. All right, we're going to dive into our discussions, opinions, and overreactions to this Week 12 win versus the Rams. Starting with the offense, we kind of had a repeat situation of last week in a way, where we had some first half struggles, then picked things up tremendously in the second half, except this time we came out of the half with the lead. So I'd say this was more of a first quarter struggle than anything, which is improvement. We love improvement. But anyway, if you look statistically at the game, our quarterback did pretty well again. He only threw for 1 touchdown pass, sure. But yet again, he did not turn over the ball, and he had a 79% pass completion rating and a 108 overall rating, not to mention nearly rushing 40 yards. Lamar Jackson only had 16 in Monday Night Football. I know this because I messed up my parlay. But anyway, yes, the numbers aren't super high, but he is also down his wide receiver 2 in Devontae Smith, which, if you think about it, being down Devontae Smith and having an almost 80% pass completion rate is pretty damn impressive. Speaking of our receiving game, I'm glad A.J. Brown was finally able to get a touchdown after what has felt like forever. He recorded his 4th on the season while also going 6 for 7 on receptions for 109 yards. A.J. Brown lived up to his Instagram name for sure, finding ways to get open and getting massive yards after contact. But the man of this offense was definitely number 26, Saquon Barkley. 302 total yards, 255 of those on the ground alone. 302 total yards. Mr. 302 himself. Saquon Barkley alone had more yards than the entire offense of these teams. The Arizona Cardinals, Seattle Seahawks, New England Patriots, Indianapolis Colts, Houston Texans, New York Giants, San Francisco 49ers, and the team that they just beat, the Los Angeles Rams. Saquon Barkley has 1,649 total scrimmage yards on the season. Almost 1,400 of them are rushing yards. And he still has 6 more games to play, y'all. The all-time leading season rusher is actually not Adrian Peterson, but is a guy named Eric Dickerson, who ironically played for the Los Angeles Rams. Back in 1984, he had 2,105 rushing yards in a single season, which is still the record to this day. Now, I did the math on this. If Saquon averages about 118.8 yards per game over the next 6 games, he'll tie Eric Dickerson for the all-time season rushing record. And the thing is, I could see Saquon Barkley doing that. He's had more than 118 rushing yards in 5 games this season and more than 100 rushing yards in 7 out of the 11 games total this season. His MVP odds just went from 60 to 1 to 6 and 1 after that game. Barkley broke the Eagles' franchise record with those 255 rushing yards in a single game, and fortunately for him, he was able to get the ball back that he set the record with after throwing it into the crowd. The fan was dope enough to give the ball back. Saquon gave him a sign ball. Really wholesome connection there. But anyway, Barkley to the Eagles will likely go down as one of the greatest moves in Eagles history. For him to get notorious Eagles haters such as Nick Wright and Craig Carton raving over Barkley and this team as a whole is just crazy. Overall, this offense has been on fire. They put up 37 points and are averaging around 27 points per game. Although the referees were really trying their hardest to give the Rams this game, they just couldn't do it. Because seriously, okay, some of the penalties were legit, yes. But they called way too many pass interference calls for what I actually saw in that game. A couple of those calls were soft as fuck, and at least one of them, the announcers were like, yeah, I probably wouldn't have called that pass interference. Total bullshit. But anyway, back to the original subject. The Eagles put up 37 points and did so without Devontae Smith. Can you imagine what the score would have been like if we did have him? Insane. It's clear that our offense is not great when both of our top receivers are out. But when only one is out, it's good to know that the other is reliable enough to pick up the slack and not negatively impact the team in any way. All right, moving on to the defense for this game. Our defense held their own, but the Rams didn't make it easy for us despite the outcome of the game. The Birds' defense didn't allow a single third down conversion as the Rams went 0 for 9 on third downs for the night. Cooper Kupp was held to just 60 yards and one garbage time score, with most of our defensive starters being out at that time. Puka Nacua was the star for the Rams, going for 9 catches and 117 yards. But to be fair, they were using him like a Swiss Army knife, and with Cooper Kupp being locked down by Quinyon and Isaiah Rodgers coming into the game after Slay got injured, it makes sense that Puka Nacua went off the way he did. He's also a great football player. There's that as well. A takeaway that I do have for our secondary is that we need to involve Isaiah Rodgers way more than we have been. At first, you might think differently because of the way he performed. He gave up a touchdown on his third snap on the field. He needs more game time experience to adjust to what the offense is doing to be able to prevent giving up crucial plays early in his game like he did in this one. We rotate a lot of our front four up. We should rotate Slay and Rodgers a little more frequently to prevent Rodgers getting quickly caught up within the offense. Plus, with Slay's injury history, it'll give him a bit of resting time too. I know he's got a concussion and will likely not play Monday, so we'll likely see Rodgers in. But anyway, they targeted Rodgers as soon as he got in, and Puka flourished and Demarcus Robinson was able to get a score. We need all of our DBs, including those who may not start, to be prepared to go in and make an immediate impact. Other than that situation with our defense, with Slay out with a concussion, we'll likely see Rodgers in the lineup against the Ravens, so we'll see how that goes. Overall, our starting defense did great. 53 tackles, 5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, 7 pass deflections, and 11 quarterback hits, while only allowing 14 points considering their last touchdown was the second stringers. They also held the Rams to under 100 rushing yards, another excellent performance by this defense. I love how Vic Fangio was able to adjust things more quickly in this game than the previous one after that Kyren Williams touchdown. One thing I want to say before going into the Week 12 preview is that I don't want to hear any Quinyon Mitchell slander. Some haters are like, Quinyon got cooked, Quinyon looked like shit, and some other bullshit like that. Sure, he had his, quote, worst performance of the season, but that cooked performance, he only allowed 3 catches for 26 yards according to PFF. The touchdown that appeared to be against Quinyon was actually against Sidney Brown based on the type of coverage they were in during that play. For a rookie's worst season performance to be allowing 3 catches for 26 yards and still not giving up a touchdown, it's pretty damn impressive. So I don't want to hear shit from no one thinking that he ain't the defensive rookie of the year or in that type of conversation no more. Jared Verse can kick rocks. Mitchell is the guy for that award. All right, moving on to the Week 13 preview. The Eagles are on the road again, but this time they only have to go down Interstate 95 as they head to Baltimore to take on the Ravens in what I'm sure will be just an epic battle. You have Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley versus Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, the top two quarterback running back tandems in the league right now. The Eagles go into this game a slight underdog, and we all know what happens when the Birds are viewed as underdogs. Here's what I think the Birds need to do to get a monster win against a powerhouse Ravens team. On the offensive side of the ball, we got to attack up the middle, both in the run and passing game, as well as take advantage of the flats and the seams. Even though it's been improving, the Ravens have one of the worst secondaries in the league right now, and at the very least, they have to face A.J. Brown. But hopefully, they will also have to face Devontae Smith, and that we have him back in the lineup. That's one of the best wide receiver tandems in the league. Smith did not participate in Wednesday's practice, but he's got about 4 days until the game, so I'm praying he'll be good to go by then. The Ravens' defense primarily uses cover 1 and cover 3, with these schemes cumulatively accounting for 2/3 of all their defensive snaps. I mentioned in the last episode how flat and seam routes are weaknesses in cover 3 schemes, so hopefully Kellen Moore can dial up some convoluted plays whenever the Ravens are in cover 3. With cover 1, offenses typically see success in various setups such as bunch formations, switch routes, inside runs, and draws. With Roquan Smith potentially being out for this game on the Ravens, that leaves even more of a weakness in the middle of the field. We need to hammer Saquon up the middle. It's already a strong point for him. If you throw Ben Van Sumeren in as fullback, that puts an extra blocker in, and Saquon has done well with a fullback leading the run. Plus, if you have a superstar linebacker out of the game for the Ravens, it's a perfect recipe for Saquon's success. Since cover 1 also leaves only one defender deep, Barkley will only have one man to beat in open field, and that's something he can do against this Ravens secondary. Additionally, you can also have bunch formations and switch routes that allow AJ to run routes cutting into the inside, with potentially Devontae Smith running those deep routes. At least with AJ going one-on-one with him, that's a battle that he's winning 99% of the time. He always manages to get open. He's big, he's physical, and shifty, allowing him to get numerous yards after catch. Plus, Devontae Smith has been clutch in one-on-one matchups in the deep routes, so hopefully he plays this week, he can replicate that and help us get a win. On the defensive side of the ball, probably the number one thing that we need to do is simply to contain the run game. I'm confident in Quinyon being able to lock down Zay Flowers, as well as Isaiah Rodgers on Rashad Bateman, and our nickel and linebackers on that third wide receiver and tight end. It's the run game that I'm worried about. According to the Eagles Wire, the Eagles are averaging over 190 yards per game rushing, while the Ravens are around 180 yards. So the run games are pretty similar. Historically, winners of games are the teams that dominate on the ground, so we need to somehow contain Derrick Henry. Currently, Henry leads running backs in touchdowns and ranks second in rushing yards. However, according to Pro Football Network, the Ravens' O-line is currently ranked 11th. Not great, but not bad either. However, against a strong defense, that O-line and the team as a whole haven't had a lot of success, and they haven't been able to put up a lot of points. They only managed 16 points against the Steelers, who have one of the top overall defenses in this league right now, especially with their run defense. Even with a couple of our edge players out, I still think that our defense will give them a problem. Jalen Carter is getting double team blocked probably more than any defensive tackle in the league right now. You could argue like Chris Jones on the Chiefs. But anyway, and when you have Jordan Davis and Milton Williams, who's just been improving game after game after game in the mix, those boys in the interior are going to give the Ravens O-line a major problem. Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean have also been pretty good in the blitz. So if we need extra run support, we should blitz at least one of them, and I'd probably say blitz Zach Bond over Nakobe Dean if they're going to go that route. Dean is better in pass coverage, while Bond is better in the rush. Plus, the man can tackle like crazy, and we're going to need some strong tackling to take down a guy like Derrick Henry. All right, capping things off with game predictions. Despite us coming in as an underdog, we have a ton of momentum going into this game. We lost BG for the year and need to do right by him. Barkley will be going against another MVP contending running back in Derrick Henry. The Birds are continuing to prove people wrong after last season's collapse. They have the most chips on their shoulder right now. Plus, again, we all know how the Eagles do when they are considered underdogs. It'll be a close game, probably going to be under the 52 points in the over-under. But I'm taking our Birds over the Ravens in a 24-21 matchup. I know. I predict the Birds to win a lot. I haven't predicted them to lose, only in like a couple of episodes. But I have faith. And as fans, we got to have faith in our team. I think Saquon punches in at least one touchdown, and A.J. Brown will get another TD. And just to spice things up, I'm predicting that our tight end Dallas Goedert gets a receiving touchdown. And to cap off, to get up to 24 points, we'll see a Jake Elliott field goal. All right, y'all, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow on YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok by searching at Second and 15 or by the full name Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast. You can also find the audio for each and every single episode Thursday mornings on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Player FM, or wherever you get your podcasts. This episode, the entire show, and Old City Sports Network are brought to you by Righteous Felon Craft Jerky. Use our promo code OCSN for 15% off your order at righteousfelon.com. We are also sponsored by SeatGeek. Use promo code Old City Sports Network, all one word, for $20 off of your first purchase today. Second and 15 and Old City Sports Network are also brought to you by Decals by Aaron and Warlord Beard Oil. Head on over to warlordbeardoil.com and use our promo code OLDSPORTS for 15% off your beard oils, washes, soaps, lotion, whatever you need. Finally, head on over to oldcitysports.com to help contribute to the production of the podcast and network by purchasing some of our awesome merch, including t-shirts, hoodies, flags, and more. We'll see you all next week, and once again, I wish all those who celebrate the holiday a happy Thanksgiving. Today, as well as this time of the year, I'm reminded of how fortunate I am to be in my life thanks to those around me, and I am eternally grateful for each and every one of them. I am also thankful for our viewers and listeners who tune in each week to a small-time podcaster who expresses a shared passion for the Philadelphia Eagles. Have a safe and happy holiday. Don't forget to stay fly like an eagle, and as always, go Birds.